For example, you ate the fried chicken, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody gets an injury, like your leg story, right?
Yeah.
How do you get back on track?
It depends on everybody, man. Like, since I got that injury, I'm having a hard time this time.
Okay.
Because now I'm worried that if I run too hard, I'm going to hurt the leg. And I don't know. I think the pandemic I'm going to bring this up because for me, it's mentally, it hasn't been good for me.
Yeah.
As far as training goes, because that was keeping me alive. Well, not keeping me alive, keeping my head straight. Like,
yes, I know what you mean.
Turn the radio on, turn on Goggins, turn on Jocko, turn on Jesse Itzler, listen to their books. But now, like, since I haven't done that, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think you got to get yourself out of the rut, man. You got to find something to motivate you. My motivation right now is trying to get this gym open. So I don't know. I think you just got to push yourself through it.
Right. Well, when you're busy doing something, you're much more likely to keep doing all the right things, right? So when you have, what is it, devil's idle mind is the devil's playground or something like that.
Yeah, it's true. Idle mind is the devil's playground.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Tamika agrees with you. That's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, man, it's tough, man. You get yourself in a rut, man. Like, it's tough, man. Like, I've really had a difficult time with it. Like, I'm one of those guys, like, I need to do something. If I'm not doing something, I go stir crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's refreshing to know that even professionals like yourself, you breathe the same air we breathe. You got to tie your shoelaces to, and you have things like this as well. Because, sometimes it's rough. Sometimes it's difficult. And like you say, you got to know, because there's been sometimes where I just feel not right, so I don't go. But other times I felt, even if it was late and whatever, I just felt like, man, if I don't go, I'm going to get in this become the old bad me and just get into a bad habit. Like, I remember business trips would throw me off. Everything would be good. Go on a 3-week audits, come back, can't start going to the gym again. So whenever I feel like I'm getting to that point, I just force myself to go. It's like going out. When your friends would drag you out to a club, a movie or whatever, you almost never regret it. You never go, man, I wish I hadn't gone. It's like going to the gym. You rarely go to the gym and go, man, I wish I hadn't gone. You always feel better after. So I try to play these little mind games with myself to remind myself.
Yeah, definitely. Positive therapist, 100%. You definitely got to get therapy. Therapy helped me. If you read my story in Players Tribune, it says the name of it's called Say Hello to Everyone, from what I remember. I didn't start, I think, functioning properly until I started going to therapy. And what I mean by that is I didn't realize I had all these issues until actually Nicole Henry talked me into going to therapy.
Okay.
I owe her for saving my life, man. Like, like, I was going through it and she's like, promise me you'll go to therapy. And like, nothing wrong with going to therapy, man. Like, I was just brought up in that old school Italian New Yorker. Like, you go to a therapist, you're a punk. And who was the punk? The guy that didn't want to go to the therapist.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I read this interesting book. I think it's The Truth About Killing. I mean, weird name, but it's a guy, I forget his name, but there's a colonel in the Rangers and it's required reading at the FBI Academy and I think the officer school. But anyway, when he looks back throughout the wars, up until before the Vietnam War, points out that most of the actual killing were done by a handful of the soldiers. But he said it's not because people were cowards. They would do things like run out there, be shot at, and drag somebody to safety, right? So on the face of it, it's like, oh, the guy's a wimp or something. Why wouldn't he do something? But it's way more complicated than that. Like what he points out, the psychology behind it is not that they were afraid. They didn't want to kill somebody. They would do things that were dangerous, be shot at to do things. But it used to be such that those soldiers were viewed as weak. But I know with modern knowledge, they realized PTSD is a real thing. So that's treated different. Like you said, the person who doesn't go to therapy is actually the weak person in this case.
Yeah. And I was a weak person for a long time, trust me. I just thought that's the way it was. Yeah. When you're brought up a certain way your whole life, unless somebody points it out to you or you realize it yourself, you think that's the norm.
Yes.
Like, I thought that was the norm. Like, don't go to a therapist. You shouldn't do that. Don't tell people your business. Keep it to yourself. Like, whatever. It wasn't until Nicole Henry made me talk me into go to the therapist. Yeah. Like, you have to go. Like, I'd love to tell that story really quick.
Yes, please do. Yes.
So I lost both my parents when I was young. I lost my dad when I was 18, my mom when I was 23, both from HIV/AIDS. My dad was an IV drug user. And I was just having a hard time dealing with it. And like, just the pressure was getting to me. And so one day I'm driving home and I just felt like taking my car and just running it into a wall and just saying whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Called up Nicole because she's one of my best friends and like a sister to me, and talks me into seeing a therapist. So I get to work the next day. So we had like a book like about that thick
Okay.
of therapists. So I said to myself, I'm like, all right, I'll do this. I want to do it on my terms first. Like I want to go to a therapist where I'll talk to them for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to one of these therapists where I get in there and they'll start prescribing me medicine. Take this, take that. So I'm like, let me talk for 6 months. And then if I'm still feeling fucked up, then if they want to prescribe me something, then I'll go to that. I'll go to somebody else that can prescribe it. Right now, like I want to do it this way. So I go through this book that's about that thick, therapist, and I'm like, okay, this one can't prescribe drugs. A mile from my work, 2 miles from my work, so this way I can skip out during lunch, then come back and go. So now I go to this therapist. I'm going for about a year, and his way of doing things, he would ask like, what did you do? What do you like? Like he always talked boxing, and he'd flip it into my therapy session.
Right.
So one day he just starts talking about music and this and that. So we're talking about music, and he goes, what do you like? And I start telling him I'm like jazz, and he goes, oh, I love jazz too. And then he goes, oh man, there's this jazz singer in Miami. Me and my wife go to see all of her shows. And I'm like, oh really? And he goes, yeah, she's our favorite jazz singer, and her name's Nicole Henry. And I sat there like in shock. I'm just like, what? I'm like, Nicole Henry? I'm like, do you know her? You go, yeah, we know her. We go to see her all the time. I'm like, do you remember I told you the story about how I came to see you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, Nicole Henry's the girl. So like now so Nicole would do this special in Miami Beach for Christmas every year. Yeah. So are you gonna go see Nicole next week at the Christmas thing that she's doing? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, let's go, and then not say anything. And I'm like, I see Nicole. I say, hey Nicole. I said, and so I walk up with John, and she goes, well, how do you know John? I'm like, do you remember when you talked me into go seeing a therapist, and I had that was making that tough decision of all this, and you thought I was crazy, and from like going, I'm like, need this, I want this, all these conditions. I'm like, here he is. How crazy is it that my best friend talks me into go seeing a therapist? I go through a book that thick, and pick out some of her biggest fan to be my therapist. Like it was
crazy. Wow. Yeah. What are the odds? He done something good, because there's a person I know, like a friend of a friend, right? The reason they would struggle with losing weight is not the workouts or the that. It's because they're not addressing some underlying issues, let's say, and they would need to see a therapist, right? Because
you know what their therapist was the refrigerator. You said they wanted to lose weight, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think they call it comfort food?
That's a great point. That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that.
When I'm not feeling well, I go right to the sweets, man, right to the refrigerator.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point, because it's not the working out, not the diet. It's just they're compensating for something, and they need professional help. Basically, that would be useful for them.
Yeah. Tamika, man, I'll tell you, man, she really, like, because she just put, I love that she's a sister too, man. Yeah. Man, like, this is how far Nicole and I go back. Okay. So when I'm learning my boxing, I was, believe it or not, working at a car dealership, and Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was, believe it or not, little old me was door guy at a nightclub in South Beach called Groove Jet. Okay. So I'm doing the door, and guess who my cashier was? Nicole Henry. Oh wow. I knew Nicole when she was still going to the University of Miami, and I used to go see her in plays. Okay. And then we would sit there and dream at the front door of what we were going to do. And she goes, what are you going to do? Yeah. I want to do something with boxing, like either be a fighter or be a trainer. And she's like, I'm like, what do you do? She goes, I think I want to be a singer. Yeah. And before Nicole was a great jazz singer, she actually sang house music. Okay. Wow. So Nicole and I go back far, man. Wow. Like, wow. Wow. I was actually texting with her today, man. She's one of the greatest human beings alive to me. Okay. Man, that positive therapist points out that she strives to dismantle the negative stigma associated with therapy. I've started for that too now. Like, when I first started telling people I went to therapy, like the look on their faces was utter shock. Like they're like, even my family members like, you went to a therapist? Yeah. I can't believe it. You're a tough guy. The tough guys who went to the therapist, the other guy was a dum-dum. Yes. Like, nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. I'm an advocate for it. You need to go, man. Like, invest in yourself. If you got to not have that beer on the weekends to save money for the therapist or whatever your hobby is, it's worth putting the time into yourself, because it was the best thing that I've ever done was go see a therapist. And it just made me a better person all around, because I was an angry kid growing up, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if that
lady, the former Miss America, who unfortunately recently passed away, if she was seeing a therapist or not. But
society is very different now. I don't know. I kind of grew up like, I mean, it's a different time with this whole COVID thing. Like,
right.
I'm a social butterfly, man. My friends all make fun of me. Like, I just moved into this neighborhood. I live over in Brooklyn now. I live on the same block Biggie grew up on. And I just remember growing up as a kid, man. It was rough when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And these kids now, like, it's a whole different rough for them. Like, it's kind of like I grew up in these neighborhoods, and like, if you had a problem with somebody, you settled it like men. Now you got these internet bullies.
Yeah.
And up on these kids, and these kids can't take it. Like, they don't realize, hey man, turn the off button on, man. Turn your Instagram off, turn your TikTok off. Like, oh, I gotta get TikTok followers, I gotta get this.
Yeah.
It's all this insecurities that the society's growing up with, man. I think it's a lot tougher than having to be on the street fighting people. It's so many, like, all these things that they put on their image. I forgot what they call them.
Filters and stuff. Yeah, I just recently heard about that to remove blemishes. I think they said
make your eyes blue, that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's just all garbage, man. Like,
and very young people are using these things to like 12, 13 years old. They're like, I got a blemish. At 13, is like flawless, pretty much.
And then all these young kids getting all this plastic surgery. Well, if it makes me feel better about myself, well, you know what? I shouldn't say it, but like, how about punch the person in the mouth that's making you feel that bad? Like, like the bullies, man, just go back to the old way. Like, like, it's got to be tough for these kids now. Like, you know, you can't even go out to a bar and meet somebody anymore. It's like, you got to go on TikTok, got to go on Instagram. How many followers do they have? Let me go on Match.com. Let me go on Tinder. Like, I'm going on all that shit, and I'm just like, I'm going to the bar. I'm going back to old school, man. Now I got my little dog I take for a walk.
Yeah.
All the attention I get, like, I don't need Instagram and TikTok.
Funny enough, for some of these people, if they were eating better, working out, they'd also have better self-esteem, right? If you're not confident, you're more likely to go that route versus going out to the bar. You said whether you're a guy or a girl, if you don't feel when you look in the mirror good about yourself, these other devices tempting for them to go to that versus
it makes it worse.
Yeah,
because now they see, like, I didn't really understand the whole social media thing, and then I started like doing research on it. Like, you got all these kids that are like getting depressed because their friends have more likes than them.
You know, if they follow somebody that looks fabulous and they say, hey, follow my program, you look just like me, they don't understand that lady, for example, she's had every surgery known to man, she's done a variety of other things, or she's adjusting her photograph, you know, modifying the picture, or this guy. And plus, even when these people are fully natural, they are a minority of a minority, where 50 years ago they existed, but you couldn't see them, right? They were sprinkled all over the world, but now they can be on Instagram in Denmark or Nigeria or down the road, but now you see them everywhere. So it gives this illusion that they are everywhere, but most people don't look like these people, and you can't look like them. You don't have the genetics or the time, the resources, or you're not willing to do what these people have done to themselves. It's kind of messy that way.
The whole thing with after Customato passed away, how like Don King took over Tyson, but it was actually after. So Tyson had two people that were very close to him. One was obviously Customato, and the second one was Jimmy Jacobs. So Jimmy Jacobs, he had two managers or promoters, which was Jimmy Jacobs and Bill Caton, but he wasn't a big fan of Bill Caton. And Jimmy Jacobs was the only person after Cuss that was holding them together. And then unfortunately, after Cuss passed, Jimmy Jacobs was young, but he wound up getting cancer and died. And that's when all the little vultures came in and took advantage of money.
Yeah, that's pretty sad when that kind of stuff happens. Definitely pretty sad. So for people who have to do, like, say, home workouts, right? Because you are determined to transform your body, you made it to the end of this video. To get more tips about how to look great and feel even better, check out one of these videos you see on the screen. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. So later's my massive. Me I go long now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that's goodbye, my people.